Jeff Lucas TV. Last week, once again, I was on my travels, this time from Washington DC to Denver. To cut a long story short, it was a nightmare. A journey that should have taken about 3.5 hours actually took, I don't know, maybe 8 hours. The first plane we had, they had a mechanical issue, so that flight was cancelled after 2 or 3 hours of waiting. So we got on another airplane and buckled up our seatbelts, and the pilot happily said, we've got mechanical problems with this plane. So we sat at the gate for an hour and a half on board the flight. And if that wasn't bad enough, our bags were lost. There was no connection, so there's no reason for that. It took 3 days for them to find the bags, and when they finally delivered them, they did so at 3 a.m. in the morning. What joy filled my heart as I realized that I was going to be reunited with my long lost bags. But in the midst of all of this, during that journey, something that I read gave me a different perspective on the whole episode. So come along with me if you will. Of course, the stress builds up before you even get to the airport. First of all, you've got to pack the car, which requires a PhD in volumic and spatial engineering. I think I just made that up, but it sounded pretty good. Just organising the car can be tough. And then you've actually got to locate the airport, which for someone as geographically challenged as me is quite a major feat. The whole issue of baggage. Will my bags be 3 ounces over, which means I could have to pay an awful lot of money? And then once I entrust them to the airline, will I ever see my bags again? Then there's the business of actually finding your way around the airport. One writer, Anthony Price, in his book The Memory Trap, says that the devil probably planned hell based on his knowledge of airport layouts. Interesting thought. Let's face it, airports are emotional black holes because they're filled with people who are there because they actually want to be somewhere else. Then they're somewhat stressed out because they're wondering if they're going to be late, whether their flight is going to be on time. And then you have to go through what I can only describe as a culture of suspicion as you go through security. Now don't get me wrong, I'm really grateful for security, but as you take off your belt and your shoes and you take out your computer, there is this lingering possibility that you might be a really bad person as you go through security. Airports aren't really the greatest place to be. But I've decided to change my mind about flying after reading about a man called Badahar Chand Gupta. He's a retired Air India engineer, lives in a really poor village in a country, India, where although air travel is booming, 97% of the population have never actually travelled by air. He has a retired A300 aircraft in his back garden, and what he does is that he allows villagers free of charge to come on to the plane. They sit there, they strap themselves in, they're served a meal by his wife. He then gives a safety demonstration, talks about a vital subject like AIDS, like drinking clean water, and then at the end of it all, he allows his passengers, as you might call them, to exit the plane by going down the emergency exit chute. It's a plane going nowhere. When I read about what he's doing, giving these people a taste of what we take for granted, it really challenged me. What is it about our lives that we consider to be irritating and frustrating that other people in other parts of the world would absolutely love to do?